laps remain here at Texas Motor Speedway. Let's go with Scott Dixon in the lead, but keep your eye on that third place car. Rossi is looking racy.
Keep your eye on the second place car, Simon Pagenaud, with all the tire trouble and the massive blisters that the Penske team has had. He has recovered back to second place.
Watch Hunter Ray and Hinchcliffe there battling for fifth. Hunter Ray work on the outside. There's a lot to watch for here. A lot of action. I think everybody, including Pagenaud, knows this is the chance to get Dixon. Pagenaud needs to make it happen now.
Honda versus Chevrolet. Ganassi versus Penske. Dixon up against Pagenaud.
Can he go the distance now from here to the end without having big blisters on the tires? We know he's been fast in the first 10, 15 laps, but he's had tire blistering issues from 15 laps on all race long.
What a solid night for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. Graham is in 6th. Takuma Sato is in 8th. Good run. Dixon goes low.
Dixon breaking the draft. Obviously, his car is handling really well, Townsend, when you can run the short line around.
It's a good night, though, for Simon Pagenaud. In with a chance to win. It's been a tough season for him. He's had the speed everywhere as we ride on board with Pagenaud. And now he's just studying Dixon. How can I possibly get close enough to make a move, especially as now we're up to speed?
It's very difficult for these words to come out of my mouth. Simon Pagenaud hasn't had a podium this year. I mean, you're talking about a series champion, a former series champion. Tag Heuer, fastest lap, as we like to feature each race. And of course, that goes to the man who's out front leading. Fastest speed, if you're interested, was just under 221 miles an hour. Of course, that belongs to Scott Dixon. Kev?
Simon Pagenaud, 10 of his 11 wins have been on road or street courses, but he has come to really enjoy ovals. And he said really it was the end of 14, the beginning of 15, when he really thought he had figured it out. And it was a lot of just watching, learning, listening to Helio Castroneves and Juan Pablo Montoya about how to deal with ovals, about how to deal with changing conditions. He says, now I can give the kind of feedback to my engineer, Ben Bretzman, like I've always been able to do on road and street courses. And I think I have this figured out. He's been strong at Indy in the past, and he's still got a chance to win this one. By the way, on the last stint, Kyle Moyer told him the tires were much better than the previous stint, much less blistering, so this one may not be done yet.
By the way, guys, you can chew over this one. Just heard from race control, Will Power in the 12 will be getting a post-race penalty for avoidable contact with Zach Clayman DeMello.
There you go, the door. He was definitely side by side with him on the exit. That's really not so much, I wouldn't say that's down on Power, but his spotter probably didn't tell him that he was there.
So, post-race penalty, I'm going to guess that's financial. Going to slap him with a fine, because both cars are going out in a truck or a dumpster.
Yep, and Power has lost the lead of the championship. If Scott Dixon can win this race within the last 25 laps, he's going to boast a 23-point championship lead.
It's going to be a really interesting interview with Power now that he knows he's going to get a penalty to boot as well, so that will be exciting. Here, look at this.
Interesting. Rossi to the high side of Pagenaud. He couldn't make this work before. He tucks back in, but he has been getting closer and closer to the back of Pagenaud.
Well, he's got to get by him because Dixon now is again pulling away from these guys, kind of stretching out the lead. So time goes by, laps click off very fast here. So Rossi now needs to get by Pagenaud if he's going to have a shot at Dixon.
Rossi seems to be able to just hold the car really low in 3 and 4, especially coming off 4 as the lead car, in this case Pagenaud, peels up the track. Rossi's able to kind of hold it low right about here. See how close he gets to the white line? And that allows him to get a run down the front straightaway. But then there's really nothing for him to do because he goes high here and he backs off.
When he goes side by side with Pagenaud, when they get to that point, that's going to leave a big giant hole in the air for Hinchcliffe to get a run as well. But here we have
this is a drive-through penalty for the reigning series champion Joseph Newgarden for jumping the restart. Race control has been stern tonight, that's for sure. Rossi hounding Pagenaud. Meanwhile, Dixon cruising with a 2-second lead. No, you saw everything that went down at home. Now we're back, and it's time to bring the action all the way to the checkered flag. Well, while we were in that break, Scott Dixon has doubled his lead to now 4 seconds over these guys who have been having an enthralling scrap.
And Rossi has been all over the back of Pagenaud like a cheap suit, Townsend. He can't find a way by, and Dixon is just taking off from these guys. Look at the lead.
And I think Rossi could catch Dixon if he could get by Pagenaud, but Pagenaud's doing a masterful job using the track, using the conditions. He's going to break the draft here on the back straight. See, he goes low, try to break up the draft. And as long as he stays low going into turn one, I think Rossi's going to have a heck of a time trying to get by on the outside, Marty.
Yeah.
So he told me before the race, Townsend and Paul, that he was going to keep trying that high line until it worked. It hasn't worked all night long for that 27 car, but he has not given up, and I promise you he's going to keep doing it for these final 12 laps. Behind him, James Hinchcliffe with a very nice run. This is the same car they did not make the Indianapolis 500 with, and he told me, you know what, I was wondering if something might be wrong with this car. They did not qualify well here, but I tell you what, this car has exonerated itself. Nice top 5 run, and here goes Rossi again on the outside, Diff.
Oh, we're never going to get sick of seeing this, are we? He's trying as hard as he can, but he's running out of laps. There's only 11 to go.
Yeah, he backed out early. He's got to really get a run off of 1 and 2. He's so strong off 3 and 4, but taking that high line around the outside, you've really got to have a huge run, or else you're just going to run out of real estate.
I wonder if he sets him up here and takes a look down low at some point, but when he gets a run, he really doesn't have the opening to go low. He sort of has to go high.
Yeah, what he needs to do also is if he can get a run off of 3 and 4 and get underneath of Pagenaud. Pagenaud's doing a great job of driving defensively and keeping it right there on that white line and keeping it nice and low so Rossi can't get underneath of him to 1 and 2.
So Dixon, Pagenaud, Rossi, Hinchcliffe, a much needed result for James. Ryan Hunter-Reay in the top 5. Graham Rahal making up 14 positions from his grid spot to be in 6th. His teammate Takuma Sato is 7th. Bourdais is 8th. Ed Jones 9th, and Charlie Kimball in the top 10. But it is a sea of Hondas in the top 10.
And there it seems like Rossi's burned up his front tires a little too much. He's struggling now to stay as close as he was to Pagenaud, as Dixon is just cruising with a 5-second lead.
And how do you think Joseph Newgarden feels being back there at 14th, looking at the leader, not fighting the leader, just looking at him? 7 to go.
Another big run by Rossi. Pagenaud's car has obviously come right, because the tires look, well, he's got some blisters now.
Big ones,
Yeah.
right front, huge
so that
blisters.
car might go away now in a hurry.
Remember how much he struggled when the blisters came earlier in the race? He really had to check up his pace.
Running out of time though, 6 laps to go. He's got big blisters on the outside right front, but he's doing a good job at maintaining this spot.
And we take you back a week ago. Alexander Rossi was in a real arm wrestle with his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay until this late race hiccup, and that cost him the win. Here he is, less than a week away. He's trying to grab some points back with the final 5 laps here in Texas.
He's got to get Pagenaud off the white line. It's kind of like the old school IRL racing days when guys would be buried on the white line. You got to move them up off the white line.
But certainly at Detroit, Rob Edwards on Alexander Rossi's radio said big picture, and I'm sure Edwards has been telling Rossi here, reminding him, hey, you're second in points, be smart again.
6.5 seconds out in front is Scott Dixon in the PNC Bank car for Chip Ganassi Racing, but he's come up on a lot of traffic in these final 4 laps. What a masterful display it's been from Scott Dixon. He's led 116 laps now, as the likes of Gabby Chavez and co get the blue flag to say, hey, come on, be heads up. You got the race leader coming up on you, let him by. On a day when Justify wins the Triple Crown, Scott Dixon is headed for his 3rd win here at Texas.
Oh, big run here. Has to back out of it. He doesn't have the grip, Townsend, going into 1. He can't hold it in there wide open. He's got to back off early and throttle it back in.
Well, he tried it once on that restart and about threw it away, so I'm sure he's a little bit gun-shy, especially now that the dust and the marbles will have built up as we see the white flag for Scott Dixon.
1.5 miles left, that is it. Meanwhile, this scrap for second goes on, and in less than a lap's time, Scott Dixon is going to have a very healthy championship lead. And he's going to win 2 of the last 3 races in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Under the lights, here in the Lone Star State, it's the Kiwi, Scott Dixon, who wins and takes the lead of this championship. And Simon Pagenaud, a really gritty drive to hold off Alexander Rossi. Scott Dixon was just congratulating and thanking his team for their marvelous pit stops. So 2 wins in a week. Last Saturday in Detroit and tonight. Blair Julian and the gang down there on Scott's team are delighted